Yes, you can start. Yeah, I am all set.
Okay, very good morning to all of you and welcome to this special talk. Today is International Mother Language Day, Matribhasha Diwas, and it's supposed to be a celebration of linguistic diversity. And we have with us today Dr. Lourembem Surjit Singh. Dr. Singh, a very warm welcome to you on behalf of CWDS. And thank you very much for agreeing to give this talk. Dr. Singh is going to talk on the roles of women in the promotion of quality multilingual learning and teaching. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Singh again. And I leave it to Gyana. Gyana, please introduce Dr. Singh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Seema. I would like to extend my thanks to Dr. Surjit for giving us time in such a short notice, in spite of your occupied schedules. Well, I have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Lourembem Surjit Singh. Dr. Lourembem Surjit Singh is Deputy Registrar and Director, College Development Council at the Manipur University of Culture, Imphal. He has about 14 years of teaching, training, and administrative experience associating with various universities and institutions in Delhi NCR regions. He has completed doctorate and PhD, Masters of Philosophy in Linguistics from Delhi University. Previously, he worked as an associate professor of English language, professional communication, and soft skills and personality development at the Department of Applied Science and Humanities at IILM, New Delhi and Greater Noida. He had worked in various national and international projects and has published several papers in reputed journals. His area of interest are oral literatures and documentation of indigenous language and translation studies. So now I request Dr. Surjit to deliver today's talk. Over to you. Please.
Thank you once again. First of all, I just would like to say good morning to all of you, and director of this Center for Women's Studies. And I really sorry to forget your name. And first of all, I would like to thank all of you for giving me this opportunity for sharing with you. Though when she was communicated me and the time was so short, so I was not able to make a proper presentation. So I will just briefly present on the topic of women's roles, the roles of women in learning, promotion of quality education, quality. I just forget that one. Actually, I will just see roles of women in promotion of quality multilingual learning and teaching. Basically, I just would like to talk on, previously on especially theme on using of technology for multilingual learning, challenging and opportunity. However, after looking and going through your organization and institutions, I better choose that some part of the roles of women, how they have been contributing in promoting of quality multilingual learning and teaching, as well as in mother tongue languages of various languages of this state of of the countries. Now, first of all, the theme of 2022, 21st February, International Mother Tongue Language is Mother Language Day, is on using technology for multilingual learning, challenges and opportunity. However, I choose this topic because all of us know that nowadays, due to this advancement of this technology, using in not only language learning and teaching, in various sectors, also in various professions, we do use technology. And basically, since observation of this Mother Tongue Language Day, we have focused on diversity of linguistics and diversity of cultures for every country, state, and starting from a small community, indigenous community, to a bigger and larger community. So multilingualism and some related to a part of women's like genders is very much important to understand why we should learn mother tongue language as well as multilingual language. So first of all, before speaking about properly on multilingualism and the importance and quality promotion of quality multilingualism learning and teaching, we need to basically understand why multilingualism and gender is required, why women is very much important uh, in learning and teaching, as well as developing the faculty of language for a child, for in school, colleges, and other education system. So first, multilingualism and gender, we just would like to define it. In recent decades, we can say lots of questions regarding multilingualism and genders have been taken on increasing importance from both scholarly point of views and society at large, as well as from various sectors. Globalization has opened up greater opportunities for people to come into contact, whether face-to-face or via electronic media communications, or and with this have come new linguist challenges that often interest gender equalities. So the global economy offers an ever expanding arrays of services and products in which women in particular bear the burden of international labor market. And as well as against this backdrop, scholars from a variety of fields are increasingly situating their inquiries within multilingualism and second language learning contexts, as well as a way of examining the complex and diverse experiences of gender ideologies. This is how the important and the demand of the point of multilingualism is increasing day by day from various sectors and from various. So before I go through these all details, just I would like to say related to the commemorated observation of International Mother Language Day. So first of all, before we switch to multilingual environment or multilingual learning attitude or teaching attitude or technologies using this multilingual environment, we just need to know how important a mother tongue language is, or how important it's for a child, or for a mother, for a family, or for a society, or for the country. So we have seen that countries like Japan and China, they are totally a monolingual country, speaking only one languages. For us, like India, we have more than 100 official languages here in India. So for every state, they have one official language at least. So Hindi is a Matribhasha, so the mother language of India and official language of India. So lots of sections and areas and states and territorial states like we can see in Punjab, dominant not by the Hindi, they are by the Punjabis. And when we go to South India, lots of Dravidian languages are there, so occupied and dominant by the Dravidian language, Tamil in Tamil, Tamil Nadu in Tamil, and Kerala, like that. We have different languages. In Delhi, especially dominant by the Hindi, Delhi, UP, and this Bihar, Bhojpuri and all. Other than Bhojpuri, they have also many languages. So in India, basically, because of this diversity in languages and the diversity in culture, it creates automatically a lingua franca platform for the Indian itself. So sometimes we communicate through Hindi as well as we communicate through English. So now English become one of the most important language in India in order to communicate from one community to another community. Sometimes the community which does not understand Hindi, they must communicate through other, lingua franca between the two communities. So English preferred by all the community. So we had lots of data regarding that when I was in Delhi University as a scholar, and when I brought lots of my junior groups for field survey. So we can simply focus on, especially for Delhi, we can see the post area like Chanityapuri and the South Extension is 1 and 2, and like Basant Kunj and some such kind of post area, they are mainly dominant by the English. The students like till the student of class nursery to class 8 to 10, they could not even understand Hindi, even in counting. For example, they can understand thus, these, pasis, tis like that. But when they started counting like 99 and the sabis, they started confusing in counting. They started counting with their fingertips. So in converting from ek do tin to 1 2 3 like that, they are translating themselves. So it creates automatically a multilingual environment. This also benefits lots of us, and sometimes this is also making us lose many things in our personality and in our cognitive system, in our decision-making system since the time growth of in the society. So first, I would like to say that why mother tongue language is very important. We all know that mother tongue language meaning means that mother tongue can often be referred to as your first language or native language. This native language simply we can define is it is the language that you must commonly speak. However, mother tongue is always referring the language that the child has used from birth and in important and impacting times in child's life. However, we can see that a family which have a cross marriage system, like a father is belong to Tamil and mother is belong to Hindi well speaking. So in that case, when a child is speaking a language, when he got bored or she got bored, and she has to develop in a particular linguistic environment. But due to his father's and mother's environment, uh, she should or he should learn both the languages in multilingual system. Though this two language learning system is a multilingual, if she or he has to learn. But the two languages mother tongue is also very rarely happen. Such kind of child we can say they have two mother tongue language. But as part of research data, when we do lots of researches on this topic, though the child has used two mother tongue, one language should compulsorily dominate more than other languages because of the mother influence, because of the father influence, or because of the environment and what we had been associating with. For example, the father came to Delhi and she got married with a lady from Delhi. At that time, especially the child should especially dominant by the Hindi languages. However, if a mother is from Hindi Valley speakers, she got married somewhere else in South India. So if she got a Tamil guy, then that time automatically when she live in Tamil Nadu, she will automatically dominate by the Tamil language. That's how languages also are very diverse in characters. So we cannot simply say that a situation may occur something else. However, because of the environment, language is also very important to know and influenced by the environments also. So for example, we can see for the mother tongue, there are instances where a child is brought up until school age using a particular language at home, spoken by their mother and father or other family members, but due to living in another country begins to adopt the language spoken in their interaction in group or school and in the some environment nearby him. And then, but if the child comes back home continually to another languages, this is impact can be less than the before one. For example, mother tongue for a child involves more than just language and includes the child personal, social, and cultural identity. The choice of words and expression carry different meaning across cultures, and where one language is asking directly questioning in considering intrusive in another and inclusive. So this means that language chosen when speaking is thought about before it is delivered. So we can see one discussion on it. One very important topic is here that when child learning a language, he or she does not simply learn the language. He also learn lots of social aspects, cultural aspects, and other abstractual aspects they have been learned from that particular associated societies. Might be from mother, might be from father, might be from grandfather and grandmother. That's how they have to learn language. So in learning these all things, lots of objects they have learned, lots of shape, size, colors, they have also learned that. So they are not simply learning the contextual words meaning. They also learn the things contextually with this abstractual form. So mother tongue in education, for example, when we met mother tongue in education refers that when a school or education institutions integrate language a child is most familiar with into the classroom lesson along with the school's lesson, this is normally the language that the child speaks at home with their family. So that time, children is able to learn very fast, and their cognitive environment for decision making and understanding the object, understanding the new words meaning and things and contextual meanings, that should be easily learning because of all the social aspects and cultural aspects and the meanings, the sounds of languages, what they have been using is a very closely related to his life, because from morning to night, early morning to night, they have been associating with. That's why they are easily able to learn. But in case of other foreign languages like a second language learning, for example, Hindi mother tongue speakers learning English languages, sometimes if they are able to learn in the school since day one, they may be very easily understand, but in the after class 3, class 4, they have to learn that things. At that time, what they have to translate it from Hindi to English. That's why translation system is sometimes required. So they are taking a long time to understand and able to understand the language, speaking, writing, and things. So there are basically 4 skills of language learning, mother tongue or as well as for another second languages in a multilingual environment. So the first language is we have to develop the listening skills, and then another we have to develop the reading skills, and then we have to develop writing skills and speaking skills. So these 4 skills compensate to understand completely a language. Sometimes we also found that when I was teaching in various universities in Delhi and colleges, so what I have personally found, lots of 60 plus or 50 plus people, those who are very highly educated and who is able to write very well, sometimes they have unfortunately having problem in speaking, and those who are very good in speaking, they also have a problem in writing also. So that's how these skills are sometimes not similar to understand for one language speaker. So in that case, we can see importance of mother tongue languages. So we thought that the person who is able to speak multilingual languages, like more than one languages, we thought that they might have a very educated, very good education background, and they might have a very knowledgeable. These all things are. This is not absolutely happen, and especially for understanding a proper object, like we can give the example of moon. When we see a moon since we born, and when our mother and father came to us and trying to teach that the moon is an object of round shape, from half shape and semicircle, like the different shapes of moons we have seen for every month in the process of this revolution circle. In these moons, the shape of moon is always not rounded. But when we see the sun is always rounded, but we are not clearly visible. So when we started teaching our child, we have seen, we have tried to teach that uh, with the moons we have. And most of the lullaby of every communities in India, in Southeast Asia, most of the lullabies have moons, stars, and galaxies and like it. But very few communities base a very lullaby on sun. So that is why when we started teaching our baby or our child, who is more teaching on a child, not by a father, especially by a woman, because a mother is at more having emotional attachment with every child, because the hours having with the mothers is more than fathers and any other person in a family. So the teaching ability of a mother for a child is very much, I mean, uh, very much focused, and uh, whatever they like, they can 100% try to influence to their child, but child may not be able to, I mean, accept or able to understand fully. 100% may not be 100%, maybe 60, 50, 60, whatsoever. But they are more understanding from mother. That's why I, especially again, I choose this topic as a woman, the role of woman in promoting quality, multilingual teaching and learning. Why mother is more important in learning languages. Basically, I will show in the last speech also, I will talk on it, how men and women have different quality in understanding a language. Who is more faster, I mean, between these two gender. I will speak on it also. So that is how, when children is speaking just one mother tongue, uh, language had a fixed mindset. When they speak one mother tongue, that they has a very fixed mindset and on how to communicate what they want or need. He also found that children with only one member, one mother tongue, did not know how to use language in the same depth as children using two or mother tongue languages. For example, two mother tongue languages, uh, as I told you one example in the earlier, when a father is speaking some other languages and mother is speaking another languages, the cognitive of the child is very fast, because uh, the mother and father both cannot understand each other language, but child has to understand both the languages. So he needs father biologically, physically, and socially, economically, everything, and same as mother also. So that's why a baby need to understand two languages more than a father understand mother's language and mother understand father's language. In that cases, the child's decision making and cross-cultural environment and adaptability, such kind of skills are too fast. But for the one language speakers child, their decision making should be very absolute, and they should be very fixed on it, what they have been spoken, what they have been decided, they will be stick with that. So sometimes this is also very rigid, and it makes rigid when they become they grown up, sitting in a responsible position at that time. So in various courses like management also, what we do, uh, students from various background, they can cook cake and they can cook mate various very tough exam, they can cook it. However, when they got entry in MBA or engineering in such kind of courses, we taught them cross-cultural environment, personality development, also courses. Why? Because the students coming from such kind of rigid background, one specific mother tongue language background, they are not able to speak multilingual languages, or they are not existing in a multilingual environment. Their decision-making systems are not too cooperative and not focused on teamwork and all. So that's why we have to train them to develop a multilingual environment, multicultural environment, and such kind of. So in continuation of that, I may resume it. So Multilingualism is an asset to be nurtured in our classroom, and the following some 5 strategies we can help teacher strategically and intentionally celebrate and extend multilingual children. Like children has various field for understanding multilingual using as an asset. So in that say we can say information and ideas that they have already learned, ways that they have used languages at home with their family members and their communities, home and community experiences that can become the focus of standard-based and content area instructions, and interests and passions that they have and what they have already done to pursue them, and previous successes have been experienced and can connect with in order to build their confidence in academic settings. So such kind of differences they have in the multilingual is an asset. So one, we can say the brains that are flexible because they are always processing 2 or more languages and making connection across language and cultures. As I told you earlier, when we learn a multilingual more than 1 languages, it becomes multilingual environment. We need to understand not only, we need also understand their cultures of the particular languages and their social structures of the particular languages. So a very simple example, let me just give you here. So when we say namaste in Hindi, we say namaste in Hindi, like with hands and bow down our head like that. So when we show our respect to our elders, we always bow down or bend down our head or neck like that. When we say in English, we say good morning, they say good morning and shaking hands or good mornings from one person to another. That's how, when we learn simply the word good morning or namaste, they have different social etiquettes and they have also different social taboos. So these etiquettes and these taboos are sometimes have to be restricted for taboos, not to be showing off for the particular society as a rule. And when we speak the language like namaste, we simply cannot say namaste from the mouth. We just need to show some respect with some hand gestures and head gestures and face gestures. So such kind of body languages is also involved. So when a student learns in a classroom environment, or when a teacher taught a student in a classroom environment, what they did, they have to learn some postures, some languages, body languages, some non-verbal communication patterns is also learning, not only the word meaning. So these non-verbal communications involved while learning and teaching languages by the students or by the teachers, especially for women, what they have understand, the student has to understand everything. So that's how their learning attitude is increased, their minds and brains are more flexible day by day in learning in the multilingual environment. So we can also say that why women are very much better in learning languages. Let me just tell you in this topic, so in this area, the main reason why females are better at languages learning than males lies in their brains. That is how the brains process the languages. An experiment has shown that when females talk, they use both hemisphere, while male use only one. Thus, female are more creative and engaged in learning than males. So we have when we identified the brain's parts. So when we speak or understand a language, we call this a left part of the brain. We have called Broca area. In this Broca area, there are lots of chambers. We have this faculty of areas are only for the faculties of language. So whatever language a person speaks, write on it. So understand on it, that is commanded from the part of that Broca area of the brain. So that is happening in the left side of the brain. So in that brain, most of the hemisphere is completely used by the women better than the men. So the women are better language learners also in that area. So women are better learners than a men. So when it comes to language learning, males and females have totally different approach. males learning is somewhat instrumental, like most of the males like very practical style of learning, very instrumental they like, and most of the males are very savvy in using like technology and all for language learning. They want to always go to the left, not by physical or sexual object. They do not learn it. So while females learning with integrative, both as technical, instrumental, as well as this all sexual parts, they have approach it to learn any languages by most of the female. So by integrative, I mean that females tend to take a stronger interest of a particular culture, of the country, of a community, or the speakers of that especially target languages. So when women learn languages, for example, when male got married with a cross-cultural environment, they are very, they are taking lots of time to understand their wife's environment, languages, cultures, and everything. But when a woman got married with a man, which is very cross-culture, at that time, women are able to learn everything very fast. This is because of that two reasons. So furthermore, it is well known that males are better with orientation than females. Men also have such kind of special characters in ability to learn of languages, but female possesses innate verbal skills. This is what we call innate verbal skill, is that when male try to learn the meaning of the word, so we try to basically understand very fast with a very needed and a targeted meaning. And then, for example, a meaning may have a different layers of the meanings in contextual, connotative, etymology, lots of meanings, layers of meanings, layer by layer they have. But when a men understand it as part the context of that speaking environment, they try to grasp it very easily. But when women try to understand it due to her emotions and due to her hemisphere things, they try to understand it very fully with in-depth knowledge. So that is how, once they understand or try to understand the innate verbal skills, they may become a very good speakers, like a native language speakers. So though we learn languages, a male become more than 2-3 languages as a native speaker. That is very rare. But for a woman, they can speak more than 1 or 2 languages, more than 2 or 3 languages can be like a native speakers. So that is the skills what women have better than men. And this means that they are better listeners also, they are better speakers also, writers also, readers also, as I told you in the 4 skills they have. And now you probably ask yourself, what does this have to do with language learning? So the answer is rather very simple, that in order to learn new languages, one must listen, speak, read, and write in that languages. Without this complete 4 skills, one cannot fully understand that languages. So that is the easiest and most accurate answer to that question. So you know that most of the men's listening skill is very low comparative to a woman. In the office environment also, you may see that the male listening skills are very poor most of the time. So another reason why females are better languages learner than males is because girls engage more skills in that 4 particular skills and language elements, vocabulary, pronunciations, and etc. Everything they try to understand. And then boys, who tend to stick with merely a handful of practical study methods. So, for example, when we are teaching 100 students in a classroom, in a co-education environment for girls and boys, the ability of this understanding from a woman is more than the comparative to a male. So that is the last reason that I would like to consider is perhaps the most important. The main reason why I also tell that why female are better at language learning than males lies in their brains, how the brains process the language, And the structure of brain is the same, is divided into two hemispheres, left analytical and logical function. And the another one is that right part is that within the broca area, there are one part left and right. The right part is a musical, visual, and non-linguistic process that they have. So both, they are fully understanding. An experiment has shown that when female talks, they use both hemisphere, while men use only one most of the time. Thus, female are more creative and engaged in learning than males. The males learn better with the help of visualization and hearing, while female process languages more efficiently. In this time, most of the females, when they heard or tried to understand a word meaning, for example, very simply from a dictionary, they try to visualize it. They try to capitalize it, and they try to make it vividness, to picture in the mind. In that way, most of the women learn languages. So I mean, generally, that I will tell you that in the daily life, from morning to evening, morning to night, most of the women, this is taken more than 1 to 10,000 per head data. So it comes that this study revealed that women do talk more than a man in a day. So, but they talk 3 times more than a man as part of the data. And this is popular data read by most of the language. And the average woman is said to talk about 20,000 words in a day, per day. And while men talks only about 7,000 words, is just half of the 1/3 of that. So not only the speaking habits, when speaking faster comparative to male and female, the female speak faster than men. In per minute, we can say women can speak approximately 145 to 160 words per minute. They are able to speak. And then while many sources also state that male able to speak only 110 to 150 words per minute. So it's a gap between, in the beginning, male started from 1 to 110 and female started from 145. And the maximum words for the rare cases, male able to speak maximum 150 words per minute, and while a woman able to speak 160 words per minute. So that is how when the God created us is a different, I mean, genders for a society, for every society. Most of the society, females are dominant in understanding language. So when it comes to a multilingual environment, like we say, understanding or learning and teaching languages. So that is the only reason why I gave that women took more important role than a male. We go to school and we educate by the different teachers, might be male or female. But that education, what we got from schools, are basically different. But what we educate from our home, since beginning in a child's life, it was basically 90% of his life or her life is really taught by her mother. So basically, because of this data, women took a very important role and very pivotal role more than men in developing this language faculty of a child's mind. So in the gender equality here, we can also say that gender in language education, why this is required. Why gender is required? Because most your organization also may be working and focus on many things related to this one. In education of language education, we can say in terms of gender identity, we cannot simply talk about a male and female is a biologically different, not like it. So we got that gender representations, identities, discourses, and many practices are shaped or constructed by the particular socio-cultural norms and ideologies intervened with other ideologies, such as socio-institution ideologies are there, political ideologies are there, religious ideologies are there, racial ideologies are there, socio-economic ideologies and power politics, many things related ideologies are there. The dimensions make gender discourse and practices aligned of inquiry to gender in language education are more dynamic, fluid and complex. And in other words, they contribute to reconstructing genderness in language education from critical perspective. Therefore, in Arabian country like that, most of the Arabian country, UAE and including Dubai, they have changed the policy of making languages by the government because the women representative in such countries were very restrictive in the earlier time. But nowadays, the government have changed their own system for, involving and initiating in every aspect of the education systems of the women in UAE. But for India, we are far ahead of them. However, gender in language education should be viewed as two entities, a side of social practice and a line of critical inquiry. That's how we had such kind of, importance of multilingual environment. So the UNESCO and the other international communities try to make and observe or commemorate such kind of International Mother Language Day for every 21st February 2022. They have changed a theme of that language for every year. So their basic language diversity and to observance and promote, protect, and preserve of that mother tongue language is same. However, for every year, their theme has been changed. So this is how we can, educate and we can same time learn languages from a different environment, not one particular languages. We also have some benefits and advantages for learning more than one languages, and they are more flexible and they have a very good personality and they have a very adaptability powers and cognitive process of understanding one particular community's language and behaviors, cultures, and social structures is very fast to learning language. That is how I just would like to conclude my presentation here for 2 days. So I again, at the last, would like to say that though we say we need to develop an environment of mother tongue language, multilingual languages, but we should not deny to understand, learn, and teaching our mother tongue languages, because in India and across the world, more than 2,000 languages has been lost and extinct due to the lesser population and community, and due to influence of this globalization, economy, polity, and language globalization. These all things make extinct small communities' language every day. So that's why we should not only focus on multilingualism, though we have to live and learn in the environment of multilingualism. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Singh. That was really a very interesting and insightful talk. And you raised many points, but I think also some of the points you raised, such as, the importance of a multilingual context, a multilingual society, which helps people, think more creatively and develop greater intellectual depth. I think that's very important, especially, in our context, which is a very diverse context. And your point regarding, language as a site of social interaction, and also very much, it's also a site, as you said, a kind of tool of critical thinking and writing. So it also is very, linked to how a society develops. And I think those are very important points. Thank you very much. I would like to ask people here, open it up if people can ask a few questions.
Yes.
I don't know whether you have the time, Dr. Singh.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Please continue. We can discuss on some queries.
Okay, so thank you. We will I can request people, please ask questions, unmute yourself and ask questions or comments. Okay, well, I think that maybe people are still thinking, or there are no comments as yet, but I have a couple of a comment and also something to ask you. One is, if you could please just say, give us more information about, the context in the Northeast, which is a very diverse context. And sadly, there's very little information. So I'm sure that everyone would like to know about the linguistic diversity and how that operates at a local level. And also, if you could please say something more about the Manipur University of Culture. I think that's really interesting. I haven't heard of a University of Culture. And so if you could please say a few words about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So first of all, for the first part of the query, like diversity of language in NE. For example, in Manipur only, Manipur is a 22,000 kilometers, a very tiny state, little bigger than Delhi. But in this small and tiny state, we have more than 34 different officially recognized languages. And among these 34, particularly from one language like Naga languages, Piko, Tangkhul language, it has only 134 or 140 more dialects within one languages. And the official language of Manipur is we call Manipuri, that is belong to Hindu speakers like Meitei. So this Meitei alone also has many dialects in different areas. They have many dialects. So Manipur itself, like a very small India, in case of diversity of language and culture, because the state of tiny Manipur is made by more than 35 and 36 communities, including Muslims. So in this 36 community itself have lots of their own languages, cultures, and their different ceremonies, ritual practices from birth to death. Like lots of anthropologists working with the organization, they might know that. Then from birth to death, they have different ritual practices they have, and though some of them taking Christianity as a religion, though they have still preserved their own tradition and practices system. So in Manipur, basically in Imphal, so Imphal is the capital of the city. So basically in Imphal, the person who is able to work in Manipur, they they have to be very diverse personality. They must have. They have to be able to work in a very in a cross-cultural environment like in Delhi. You know that when we started working in Delhi, the first of our time, so we were very hard to cooperate with different styles and diversity of languages and culture and races and lots of things we have. But here in Imphal also, what we have, especially for, let me give you one accurate example, the Department of Art and Culture. These art and culture departments simply cannot handle by a simple IAS. The IAS coming from a simple background, they cannot handle this department. So our university, we call Manipur University of Culture. This culture is the second culture and university in India of its kind. The first University of Culture is resided in Bhubaneswar, that is we call Utkal Culture University. And this is the Manipur Culture University. University of Culture is the second university. So if we go beyond the state of, this Manipur, in the northeast area, we have lots of 8 states here. So in Assam, Assam is not speaking only Assamese. So in Meghalaya, then Khasi, Garo, different tribes speak different, their own languages. So in this diversity of languages, in Northeast, to understand it, we think for all the citizens of India, before we go to abroad, we need to go India first, because Indian itself is a very big country and having a different community, different language, different cultures we have. So for me, I traveled throughout all the north, south, east, west, each part of India in this last 20 years journey of my Delhi. So for others also, I just would like to suggest you that to understand India is the first. So government is also making our country to understand first. Nowadays, this new government is making that to know our country. With different program, they had even professors from different universities like Delhi, Jamia, and other universities, and all the central employees. If they want to go to northeastern state for, I mean, tourist purpose or for traveling, once in a year, they are giving lots of facilities nowadays by the government. There is a very big gap. So to see some students or family and representing entire Northeast is not absolutely right, because in Manipur you see out of these 36 communities, we belong to Hindu and the Meitei communities. Our communities have a very, I mean, a Sanatan religious basic principle. So when first time in 2000s, back to 2000, when I came to Delhi first time, I feel like we are also Hindu, and the people saying Hindu here is very modernized, and that they think like they are really Kacha Hindu, like that. We thought, and after living lots of years and mingle with various parts of societies and colleagues and friends, and we came to know that Delhi is also very diverse itself, because Delhi are not representing by Delhi itself. Delhi are representing by from UP, Bihar, Manipur, and South India, different parts, they are representing in their own way. So basically, for Culture University, the government, the last government, there was the Congress Chief Minister, ex-Chief Minister called Ibobi. He was hold the state for 15 years as a Chief Minister. At the end of his tenure, he thought that in 2015, to establish such university in Manipur, especially for culture, is indeed a very needed, because the culture of Manipur is in the classical stage, though we have only 30 lakhs communities. So among these 30 lakhs communities, only 3 million people. In this population is very low, but the culture like the dance ras, Zawai ras, one of the 3 classical languages, classical dance, and many language of Manipur is very high. It is more than 2000 years old inscripted books we have here. So thinking on this whole perspective, the government established this university, taking model from the Utkal Culture University. So that is how in our university we have tribal studies, especially for all the tribes of Manipur, Northeast India, and Southeast Asian, across the country, across the Asian countries. It's all we do study a course in master degree. We have other all the performing arts like dance, music, and then martial art. This whole things has been dealing with our university. We do also have that's cultural studies is a subject here as a department. We do offer master degree in cultural studies only for the language and culture. We offer it. That is not basically focused on Manipur only. This is basically focused for India and Southeast Asian and world. These 3 aspects we work on that. So this is very new and diverse university, and we have a very good scopes, and the government is also trying to develop it as one of the first central university of its kind in the country. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Well, I think, we can end the talk. I wish to thank you on behalf of CWDS and all here. And I would also like to thank very much Gyana, who was really instrumental. It was because of her that, we came to know you. So thank you, Gyana. And thank you, Dr. Singh, again.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
sorry
yes.
for the interruptions
No, no
which
problem.
took
No
place.
problem. It's happened.
So thank you very much all, and thank you all for joining.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.